Hi, my name is Jake. If you're seeing this, you're probably on my new website. The website is www.hillbillysustainability. It's a blog that I've started. Kind of the idea was I do a bunch of sustainable projects, mainly food production, but some social sustainable projects as well. And the idea is that I wanted to kind of start cataloging a lot of those projects that I do. So what I'm doing today is I'm doing a pretty brief video. I'm going to do another video as well that will be part of the same blog submission. If you've seen my other blogs, you know that I have several kinds of birds that I keep here in my backyard. One variety is turkeys, other variety is chickens that I have for egg laying, and quails that I also have for egg laying. What I'm going to do is kind of show you some of the different feeds that we use. One thing I'm not going to be showing is some of the kitchen scraps that we feed them, but you can probably use your imagination on that one. These are things that I would normally feed on a daily basis. The kitchen scraps are more just kind of per what we have, and often a little bit different. So there might be a little wind that kicks up. We're doing this in the backyard, so it's kind of one of the adventures of doing that in a non-sterile environment. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this is called layer mash. This is something I would feed the chickens, and what it is, it's a little bit higher in a fat and carb content than some of the other feeds. That's really good for chickens that are trying to lay eggs. It's mainly corn, some other grain. It has a little bit of oyster shell in there for calcium. This is going to be a crumble for turkeys, and this is fed to both the turkeys and the quail. And it's a little higher in protein than the chicken feed, but still has lots of good stuff in it, like a little bit of calcium for their egg, for the shells. They use a lot of calcium for making those egg shells. And normally what you would feed quails is either a turkey feed or a game bird feed. The game bird feed is a little bit harder to find where I am, whereas turkey feed is very easy to get, and it's the same thing pretty much. It's a little bit different in shape and size, but it kind of is the same. Another thing that we feed, and this is more of a treat, this is going to be a mixture of scratch, which is going to be corn and some other seeds, and also some wild bird seed that I had kind of an abundance of, so I mix a little bit in that with the scratch. This is something that you use as a treat. Probably if you see some other spots on my blog, some other pictures where I have, I'm hand feeding the birds, I'll hand feed them this. It's just something they really like, and it also is just a way to get them to be more docile, a little bit more domesticated, is to hand feed them, and they associate you with their meals and with having a good time. Another thing that we feed to the chickens, this is just alfalfa, and it comes in a bale. I just have some out to show you. The chickens really like it. They'll eat the leaf and the kind of bud on it, and they'll leave most of the straw portion, most of the stem, but what that does actually is it goes into their chicken run, and it a little bit kind of just makes a bedding. And so that works out really nicely. It also does decompose. The idea is that the chickens are acting as a form of compost. So they're taking all this food, we're getting the eggs from them, but then also at the end you can take some of the soil out of their run, mix it in with your compost, and it's just very nutrient dense. Speaking of composting, one of the things that the chickens really are good for is they actually eat a lot of things like this grass that pops up in my vegetable garden. Chickens love it. Things like these clovers, the chickens also love. This is one of their favorite treats. And that's a good thing because it's just weeds that are growing in my yard. It's very nutritious for them, and they really do enjoy it. Another thing is we have a lot of oregano in our herb garden that was originally planted, but comes up kind of volunteer now, and there's an abundance of it, more than I can dry or use in the kitchen. And so it's really good for the chickens. I know that I've read a lot of people, we give it to chickens and other birds as a good kind of probiotic thing that is good for their gut, and you are able to avoid things like antibiotics if they have a little bit of a sickness, and it will just keep them healthy. I'll feed it to them a little bit, and every once in a while I'll put some in their water for a couple days, and then I'll skim it out, and it just gets some of that oil. Another thing I would do is rosemary or basil, but the oregano we have a huge abundance of, so I always try to feed them that. I'll post another video here in a little bit, and it's going to be about how the actual feed system works and the delivery system that I have for storing the feed and then for putting it into feeders. Thanks.